Welcome to another episode of Social PR Secrets. My name is Lisa Beyer, and I'll be your host. Today's guest is Matt Siltala. Matt is an agency owner of Avalanche Media, and he is also an expert in visual social media. This interview was originally recorded when I caught up with Matt while I was teaching my social media management class at the University of Florida. In this interview, Matt and I take a deep dive in the ins and outs of using visuals for social media. Enjoy. Hi, everybody. So we are entering into the week that we're going to be talking about visual social media. And I have a very special guest. Actually, both of us, Matt and I, were both at the same conference all week called PubCon. And it's actually Friday night as we're recording this. So we've been in Vegas for 5 days. So
yes. I feel privileged, right?
Right. So Matt Siltala is here with us, and he has his own agency, Avalanche, which is an award-winning agency that specializes in, amongst other things, visual social media marketing. So Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself and your agency, and then we'll get into the interview.
All right. Yeah. I've been in this industry for a long time, as you know. Been the agency side of it, like you said, we focus a lot on the visual content, but we're a full service digital marketing firm. We do a lot with the paid advertising side. We have a PPC team. We have, the normal SEO side of it and account managers and all that. And we have a whole design team. And so we're about 45 employees now, which is kind of crazy to think. Just a few years ago, it was me and a couple partners, and even a few years before that, it was just me. So we've grown a lot, and we love all things digital marketing, and speak at a lot of conferences, get to meet awesome people such as yourself.
Yeah, and you specialize and you focus a lot of your presentations on visual social media marketing and visual social media and visual content. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, Matt, what is the big deal when it comes to visuals and social media?
Well, the thing that when people ask this question, the thing that I come back to more than anything is it's how we consume content. We're such visual people, okay? We get distracted so easily. I think about the way that my kids consume content, and, they're so spoiled this day and age. I had to laugh the other day when my son was watching we were watching a live sporting event, but a commercial came on and he's wanting to fast forward the commercials. I'm like, that's not how it works, you spoiled, but, that we just, but getting back on track, just kind of throwing that out there just because things have changed. But, we process the images so much faster. And I think about, like, when we're on Facebook and we're scrolling through, or we're on Instagram and we're looking, you're going to take the time and read along, again, especially if you're on the move or, you're busy. I think the majority of people are not going to stop and scroll through thousands of words, versus if there is a visual that is kind of sharing that exact same concept. Like the ones that I like to think about in this specific, example that I'm talking about is mapping. You're looking at a text post that has all the different top searches for states in Google, and you have to read through it all. Or if you could see like a visual, a map where it easily shares that, you're going to look at that image and you're going to stay on that image a lot more. You might look at the first Arizona or Alabama or something, and if you get bored of it, you'll move off of it. But if it's in a nice visual where it's easy to consume, you're probably going to stay. And that's the difference.
Okay, got it. So if you're just a personal brand, let's say, or a small business starting out in social media, what's advice that you can give if you don't really have a big budget and you want to stand out using visuals?
You got to start somewhere. And, there's no excuse with, there's meme generators out there that are 99 cents. You could even find, if you're cheaper than 99 cents, you could find free ones. And, there's lots of opportunity just paying attention to what's going on, paying attention to what's going on in your industry and the news, everything around you. And identifying those influencers. Like every different space has influencers that could help them or that can help push their brand. You don't have to always, I tell people, you don't have to get the Michael Jordan. Sometimes you can get someone that's even in high school, or someone that's even, that's not known across, like, everywhere, but is known in their
in their
industry, or
space.
has it. Yeah, exactly. And so, that's one area. And definitely, just doing something. You have such a huge opportunity with, like, Pinterest to connect with, or Pinterest too, but Instagram. You have such a huge opportunity to build a community and let people know, what your products are. Show them in context. Don't just, show a picture of the product. Show how it looks on someone. Use that opportunity to really build and connect with a community. I think you can do that visually through a lot of these platforms.
Okay, great. And so what are some do's and don'ts? I'm sure you see the fails and you see the big successes. So what are some of your favorite do's and don'ts when it comes to visual social media?
Definitely the don'ts are, a lot of times people, they want to create an infographic because they were told they have to create an infographic, or they heard at a conference, I need to create an infographic. Or, again, I'm just using that as an example, but if you don't have purpose behind it, or if you don't kind of figure out the whole strategy behind it, you don't figure out, okay, I'm already thinking way ahead. Like, before I even create the infographic or even think about the idea, I'm thinking about the people that I want to, the influencers. I'm thinking about who I want to reach out to, who I can help, or reach out to, that would help me, better articulate the message with this, whatever graphic it is I'm working on. And so I think just putting something out there to put something out there is definitely the wrong thing to do, and what I see a lot. And that's how come you see a lot of crappy infographics or visuals that are out there. But the ones that have a point behind them, that drive home a story, that you have gone through that whole process that I talked about with, working with people on the front end, coming up with this whole ideation, and putting together a good story. Like, it has to tell a story. I know that a lot of people say, your infographics are more for the social shares or the link building, and it's true. There is a lot to do with that, but they can also help you with conversion and sales when they're done right. And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong with them.
Okay, great. And so the do's would be to just do it with purpose and intention.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So do you have any favorite tools when it comes to visual social media?
And again, these would be more for just research. One of the ones that and again, these are just always looking for ideas and how you can do stuff better. But, like, visually, it's just, the .ly visual, and then
Dot
Lee.
online.
But I like going through there and seeing what the top, what the top shared graphics are, what the top shared interactives, videos, whatever it might be. Those ones, any kind of, there's a lot of photo editing software that is super cheap. You can optimize your images. Again, there's just so many to mention. A couple of them, and I just got to remember the names of them really quick. But just kind of pulling out my phone here and showing you. See right here?
Yeah, perfect.
Some of the ones that I love. There's an app called Moments. Definitely one that I use for, it helps you with, I don't want to say, I don't know, I guess stop motion, but you can combine a bunch of pictures. I do a lot with shred video. And then, there's the Over It tool. But again, there's a lot of these apps like that, and you could just do searches for them in the App Store. You could find, or even if you're, there's lots of different pretty affordable web apps that are out there. You just search for, help with making them more web friendly, or reducing the file size of your images, things like that.
That's a big one.
Those are the tools that we're always using.
Okay, so let's talk specifically about Pinterest. And I was just at PubCon, and you talked about Pinterest, and we're actually sharing one of your slides with the class as kind of a signed reading. And so we don't want to go into every detail, but why is Pinterest so awesome? What do you love about Pinterest?
Well, this was eye-opening to me. when I was talking with, probably about a month ago, I was chatting with my wife about something. I was putting together a presentation, and I just asked her, I was just curious, and I was like, when's the last, well, because this question had been brought up. And so I was just curious, not brought up here at home, but elsewhere. And so I asked her, I was like, when's the last time that you searched for something on Google? And I was thinking she'd say like a week ago or a month ago. I know she's not on it very often, but it like floored me when she said, I haven't looked at anything on Google in probably like 2 years. And I
Wow.
was like, whoa, because people are always saying, hey, Google's always going to dominate. And now that's not to say that she hasn't seen Google ads or clicked on or made them money, from other stuff. But as far as a search engine and what she's using, it's no longer Google. She's not using that. She's not looking for what she needs anymore. And I understand, she is a stay-at-home mom, and she's a different demographic than some. But there's a huge demographic of stay-at-home moms. And so I'm guessing that the way that they search isn't a lot different. But she said, I just do everything on Pinterest now. It's visual. It's got everything right there. It's very, amazingly organized. I can see exactly what I'm looking for with whether I'm looking for recipe ideas or the do-it-yourself projects or whatever it might be. But I do a search for it, and I see that the visuals right there laid out for me, and it makes it so much easier than doing, an annoying Google search where you have to scroll through and hope that what you're clicking on is going to bring you to the right images. You could see it right there, and that spoke volumes to me, because again, we're talking about visual and the trend, and that's what Pinterest is. Like, I'm not saying that it's the next search engine, but it's definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest, visual search engine.
So if you're on Pinterest, I guess it's pretty important to get found and make it as easy as possible to get found.
Absolutely. And
How do you do that? So what are some of the ways that brands you can dominate on Pinterest? What are just some
you
highlights?
know yeah, it's a great question, because a lot of times people think that, let's just post and pray, or let me just link up to it or like it. The thing that's awesome about Pinterest is they've done a really good job on the back end for making it easy for us to just take advantage of what they offer us to rank. For example, just with your titles and your descriptions, and how they give you the ability to link to your content and things like that. The problem is a lot of people, they're not paying attention to stuff like that. So, if I have a recipe site, this would be the good example of what not to do. If I have a lot of different recipes about, baking cookies and baking cakes and baking brownies or whatever, I'm not gonna just throw up a pin that's a recipe and just like in the title put, one of my favorite recipes. Okay, I'm gonna put something more along the lines of, you know, um, double chocolate brownie recipe. Like, I'm gonna make sure that those titles and those descriptions and those keywords that are used that really describe that particular piece of content or that visual piece of content, because that's going to start ranking. And I think, that's where a lot of opportunity, you have so much opportunity, like a lot of time we want to focus, okay, the SEO, the optimization, it's only going to be done on my website, on my business. People forget that they have this whole other opportunity to optimize and rank and be found for, just with their boards and their categories and what they pin.
Right. And not just for Pinterest, right? I mean, this
Yeah,
goes for Facebook
absolutely.
and Instagram to some extent, but pretty much each social media network could be considered its own search engine. We're trying to optimize to be found, because people are, like you said, they're not really searching in Google as much. They're searching within their social network, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's another good point to those that may be on the fence of, oh, do I need to really get into another social network for my business? Well, you know, no one's holding a gun to your head saying you have to do it, but you're just missing out on traffic and opportunities if you're not. Like, there's people I know that their whole businesses and everything they do are run on Instagram or Facebook. A lot of these places don't even spend a lot of time or have a lot of focus on their actual website. They spend more time with their community. And again, don't take that wrong in saying, I don't have to have a website, but I think you get the point.
Exactly. So what are some, do you have any Pinterest secret hacks that you want to share? Maybe one or two of your secret tips that you don't tell anybody?
Well, yeah, one of the things that I'm always that I'm always suggesting to people to do, that they're like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. But most people don't pay attention to their Pinterest analytics. Okay. And you have really good insights there, sharing with things like, your most viewed pins and your top like, and all the data that, that's in there. Well, start paying attention to that stuff, because that the shelf life of a pin is longer than any other social network that's out there. I don't have the stats in front of me, but they're on the deck.
They're on the deck,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and you guys can go and check that out. But pay attention to that kind of content that people are connecting with, and that they're loving, and that they're sharing on Pinterest. And then you can repurpose that content on other social networks like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So if you're wondering, okay, how do I come up with good content for Instagram? I'm brand new to it. I've been doing Pinterest for a while, but how do I get some good content on Instagram? Go back to your Pinterest pages and see, your analytics, and see, okay, well, what's the content that my community is connecting with, and then repurpose that content and use it on those other social networks. That would be like, one of the biggest ones. But another one that I think is pretty good is that people don't do. Like, let's say you've been working on Pinterest for a while, and you have some boards that have a decent following, and that, when you pin something, you have a lot of people commenting, and it's getting good traffic, or it ranks really well. Well, if you have a new category or a new board that you've created that you want to start getting some traction to, well, create a new image that is pinned to one of those other more popular boards, directing people to your new boards. And again, it's just another good way to
Oh, I like that. I'm going to use that one.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, thanks. So can you tell us some of your favorite brands on Pinterest?
Yeah, I love watching. There's a lot of them, but just a couple that come to mind. I love the Southwest Airlines, because they actually encourage people to take pictures, outside the window, and use their phones, and tell us what you're seeing. And it's such more of the way that they go about that. If you think about, and you and I travel a lot, so we have lots of opportunity to complain about airlines, and we know that there's a lot of complaints that are always going on about airlines. And so they've kind of taken the, hey, show us the good side of it, and you might be featured on these pages, or these boards, or on Instagram, or whatever it might be. But I love what they've done at Southwest Airlines. And
I would have never guessed Southwest Airlines. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, and then the Duck brand, obviously, you have, well, Duck brand and Sharpie. The thing that I love about them is you think, okay, well, how exciting is duct tape, or how exciting is a Sharpie? But what's cool about it is those pages, they're full of DIY stuff of what to do with duct tape, what to do with your Sharpies. And anyway, it's pretty awesome.
Brilliant. Okay, so for the students out there that are going to be graduating, moving on to professional social media world, what advice would you give?
Just test. Don't be afraid to, don't be afraid that, hey, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to break something, or I'm going to do something wrong. I've been doing this forever, and I've always pushed limits on certain things. Again, I'm talking like, I wouldn't risk it on if you're doing it with client stuff, but your own stuff. Test, build something, see what you could do, see what limits you could push. See, just do something yourself, and don't worry about doing it wrong. Or there's so many different industries, and there's so many different right and wrong ways to do stuff. Just figure it out. Don't hesitate to jump into it. Don't feel like, and the biggest piece of advice, because I hear this the most, is, well, how can I compete with everyone else that's already doing stuff online? Well, I have 2 mattress companies online. One was acquired for a decent sum, and we're growing an even bigger one. And this started, 10 years ago, but there's been mattress companies forever. And if I was to, go back then and say, well, I can't, because we sell a memory foam and a latex, but at the time, it was just Tempur-Pedic was a big one. If I say, well, Tempur-Pedic selling memory foam, I can't compete with them, then I would have lost out on a lot of revenue and a lot of opportunities that it's brought me. So don't ever think that that I can't get into something because someone's already doing it, or that it's too oversaturated or whatnot. Just you figure out how to put your unique position on it. You figure out your passion with it. There's a good chance that it's going to be successful. I'm not saying everything you put out there is going to succeed, But I think a lot of the times when we're doing that, and if we do fail, we learn a lot and we grow from that. But just don't be afraid to succeed. Don't be afraid to fail.
I love that. I love that. Well, Matt, after this interview, where can everybody follow you? Which social networks? What's your handle?
They could find me on Twitter, either just at Matt, M-A-T-T _ Siltala, that's Siltala, or you can just Google some, form of that, or Avalanche Media, and my name will pop up and you'll find me that way.
One more quick question. This came up at the conference. I'd love your opinion on it.
Okay.
What's your prediction on the future of Twitter?
It's interesting. It seems like nobody wants to buy it, but I don't think that it's going away. I don't, it's just a great question, but I think that it's going to continue, at least with big businesses, I think it's going to continue to be the most useful as a customer service tool. My prediction for who I think eventually, I think some big brand is going to buy it. Whether I know that Microsoft has backed out, and who was the latest one? Was it Salesforce or?
I don't know if I was dreaming this, or I heard that Snapchat was possibly buying it, which would be awesome, I think. But
Oh yeah.
If anything, I have no idea if that's true, but yeah, I hope it survives.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that it will. Like the thing that was interesting, and the reason why I think it'll survive, because I don't know if you remember Scott Stratton on marketing.
Right.
His keynote, he talked about how MySpace still gets like, what was it, like 5 billion something views a month, or like it's a dead, according to us, all of us, it's a dead site. No one uses it anymore, but the amount of traffic that it still gets. And I don't think Twitter's going away. And like you said, I hope it doesn't go away, but it's going to be interesting to see who actually ends up with it or acquires it, because it doesn't seem like anyone's like super interested in buying it at this point. I think maybe people are just being cautious. Who knows? Maybe after the elections, people will feel a little bit more comfortable with stuff. And
True. All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Friday night, and we will catch up with you at the next conference.
Yes, really looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Social PR Secrets. If you like what you heard, check out the book on Amazon or follow our blog at socialprsecrets.com. This episode was sponsored by The Buyer Group, a social PR agency striving to keep our balance in the digital world, practicing public relations, social media, and search marketing, while occasionally drinking a glass of wine or two for the best creativity and results. Thank you all for tuning in. If you would like to get a free chapter of Social PR Secrets, go to socialprsecrets.com/free.